Hey everybody, this is Jared. Wanted to talk you guys through the one pager that you're going to be using for our Student Advocacy Week, just to make sure that you have a grasp on all the priorities we're going to be talking about. If you have additional questions, please make sure to ask, but I'll try and do a quick explainer on each of these things so that it's something you guys feel comfortable with. So first page is our budget priorities. Number one listed on here is the G3 program, Get Skilled, Get a Job, Give Back. This is a program that the governor campaigned on. He introduced it last year, and it was passed in the budget during the 2020 General Assembly session. Then after the COVID crisis, the funds were unallotted, meaning taken out of the budget, and now they're trying to put the funding back into the budget for year two of the budget, which is this coming year. And what the program is it's a tuition-free community college program for students. So if you are financially eligible, and that means that you have a household income of 400% of the federal poverty level or below, then you can go to a Virginia community college tuition free as long as you enter into a high demand field. And the high demand fields can change over time, but they're defined by the governor's workforce advisor and approved by the General Assembly. So right now it's things like the healthcare industry, IT, early childhood education, skilled trades, things like that. And the idea is that you can get a degree or a credential in one of those fields, tuition free, and then we're filling jobs that need to be filled in the workforce. So these are high demand fields. In addition to the education portion being tuition free, certain students are eligible for what are called student support incentive grants. And those are just checks that you get each semester that you go to help support you for things like your housing costs, your food costs, childcare costs if you have kids, things like that. So what this does is it creates affordable pathways for students to the workforce in fields that need workers and have high paying jobs. So that's the G3 program. What you see here is the budget for it. So it's $36 million to pay for this program in this first year that they'll be trying it out. And then additionally, there's legislation to create the program and put it in the Virginia Code. And that's listed on the next page as well with some additional talking points. And the legislation is being carried by the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader. So the two most powerful members of each chamber are carrying the bill for this program. So it's obviously a top priority and something that we anticipate will pass, but something that we've been strongly supportive of for a couple of years now. The next item on here in the budget section is student financial assistance. And so that's $30 million to increase financial aid and $8 million to increase the tuition assistance grant. So the $30 million is for financial aid at our public 4 years and community colleges, and the $8 million is for the tuition assistance grant at our private colleges. This is money that goes directly to students to help pay for their education. And we've got a few talking points on here on how, low-income students and students of color often don't have access to the resources to attend college or to finish college. And so this would help close some of those gaps. With the tuition assistance grant, this amount of money would raise it to $4,000 per student. So that's a flat award for each student at the private colleges. The public financial aid varies from school to school based on a number of factors, such as demonstrated need and number of students and things like that. But these are both increases in funding that we're pushing really hard for and that were included in the governor's proposed budget. And then the final thing on the budget one pager is broadband expansion. We're asking for an additional $15 million investment in this coming fiscal year 22, which was also included in the governor's proposed budget. Broadband access has become a even bigger issue than it already was with COVID. So many of you have had to learn remotely. People have to work remotely, and it's just exacerbated the issues that we already had in both rural and urban communities in terms of access to broadband and the affordability of broadband. And so investing an additional $15 million in the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative, or VATI, would bump the funding up to $50 million across the biennium, which is the historic high for the state. And so it's moving us in the direction we want to go in. The second page here is our legislative agenda. So moving from the budget to bills, the first one, there's a House bill and a Senate bill, but they're the same bill. The House bill 2123 is being carried by Delegate Lopez, and the Senate bill 1387 is being carried by Senator Boysko. And what this would do would expand who is eligible for in-state financial assistance. So what we did last year was we helped get a bill passed that makes it so that students who live in Virginia, graduate from high school in Virginia, and are pursuing post-secondary education in Virginia are eligible for in-state tuition, regardless of their domicile or immigration status. That bill passed. The problem is those students are not yet eligible for financial assistance. They're not eligible for financial aid if they're going to a public institution, and they're not eligible for TAG if they're going to a private institution. And so what these bills would do is make them eligible for that money. So, you know, we think that if you're eligible for in-state tuition, you should be eligible for, you know, in-state support, things like financial aid and TAG. Only stands to reason. And these are folks who are already living here, already going to school here, graduated from Virginia high schools. And so, you know, this should be a no-brainer that they should also be eligible for financial assistance if they would otherwise qualify based on, you know, their income. The next thing I already talked about, these are the bills, the legislative portion of the G3 program. So HB 2204 being carried by Speaker Fillercorn, and SB 1405 being carried by the Majority Leader, Senator Saslaw. You know, the other piece is the amount of money. The 36 million is what we need to pay for G3. And then this is what codifies it. This puts it in the state code and creates, you know, the existence of this program for the foreseeable future. And then last but not least, we have HB 1820 being carried by Delegate Helmer. What this bill does is it makes it so that a student who is attending a post-secondary institution in Virginia would qualify for TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and SNAP, or Food Stamps, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program in Virginia. Currently, those programs have workforce and employment training requirements, and this would expand it so that if you are attending a Virginia institution, you're going to school, then you would qualify as meeting those requirements and be eligible for that assistance. There's been some research lately on, you know, how many students are food insecure in Virginia. Something like 1 in 10 students that are dealing with food insecurity. And then we know students are dealing with all sorts of other, you know, financial needs, you know, housing costs, childcare costs, transportation costs, all those things that we talk about. And so this is another one that will help us close some of those equity gaps that we always talk about in education by making these programs available to many more students here in the Commonwealth who need them and could be able to take advantage of them. So that's everything on our one pager on the budget side and the legislative side. Like I said, if you have additional questions, please ask, but I hope that gives you a nice overview of everything. And we are excited to have you all participating in our Advocacy Week. So thanks.